Welcome. In this video, we'll talk about how men operate. So what usually happens is for most men, their wife acts and in response to it, they react. Now, the moment you react, the signal that you're sending to your wife is that she's the one with control, because what just happened is that she gave you a non-verbal command by acting, right? And you obeyed the command by reacting. What she really wanted from you was your reaction, and you gave it to her. So that shows her that she's the one in command because you're reacting to her non-verbal commands, right? This is how most men operate. But how sovereign men operate is slightly different. In their case, their wife acts, and instead of reacting, sovereign men execute. He signals that he's the one in control. So what the wife understands is that my husband is controlling the dynamic. He's in control. All right. So in this case, you send a non-verbal command by executing instead of reacting. And subconsciously, your wife gets the message that the husband is in control. So this entire video is dedicated to show you how you can go from reacting to executing in your marriage and signaling to your wife that you're the one in control. Okay? Because when you're reacting to her, she gets the message that she's the one who's pulling the strings and you are her puppet. Okay? This is how women think. Okay? Most women do not talk directly. They talk in micro signals. They test how you react to her. And that in her mind establishes who really is controlling the dynamic, who is the leader in the dynamic, right? So this entire video is dedicated to showing you how to switch your marriage OS from reacting to executing on autopilot using Spouse Intel. All right. And it only takes me 90 minutes to install this new operating system in your marriage. Also, note that we'll do all of this without having to touch therapy, without involving any drama or really involving your spouse at all. And please note that this is not theory. All right. This is a predictable system, and I've done this over 500 times. If you want proof, head over to my website www.devadhi.com, and there you'll find a ton of case studies proving how I'm doing this real time in people's marriages. So to switch your marriage operating system from reaction to execution, we will build 4 bridges for you. All right? Bridge number 1 is philosophy, then is principles, then is plan, then is protocol. So let's talk about building bridge number 1, which is philosophy. Now, I firmly believe that if you do not know what you stand for, then you negotiate against yourself. This is one of the major reasons why men lose control in their marriage, right? Because they simply do not know what they stand for. So in this first stage of figuring out your philosophy of marriage, what I do is I extract your definition of marriage, right? Things like, what kind of a man are you? What kind of a marriage do you want to have? What is a non-negotiable in a marriage for you? Okay? Because getting clear on what you want out of your marriage becomes the North Star for all of our work together. And so what I'm looking to do at this stage is to figure out how you think about marriage. Okay? What do you feel about your marriage? And what do you want out of your marriage? Okay? These are the 3 things that I want to figure out at this stage. And I do this not through conversation, but through a very specific form of questioning. All I need from you is 10 to 15 minutes of your time, plus quick and honest replies to my answers. Know that I don't entertain stories or endless talks. That's not my style. This is not therapy. This is intelligence. And that's the reason I do it this way. Because when I extract how you think, how you feel, and what you want out of your marriage, in that process of extraction, something very subtle shifts inside you. All right? And that subtle shift is that you build a lens. And subconsciously, everything that you do in your marriage from that moment forward gets filtered through this lens. And so this filter ensures that all your actions stay aligned with your philosophy of marriage. Because to be very honest, the reason most men have chaotic marriages is because they don't have this filter, right? And if you don't have this filter, your marriage will be governed by circumstances. Okay? And if circumstances is what is governing your marriage, then you can't lead. So the first step in launching you into the role of the leader in your marriage begins with understanding that sovereignty begins with direction. And once direction is installed, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop second guessing. You stop wondering if you're being reasonable or not. Instead, you very clearly know what you want. And that clarity becomes your authority. So by the end of bridge 1, now you have direction. Okay? But direction without understanding her system creates collision. All right? That brings me to step number 2, stage number 2, where we'll build the second bridge. All right? The second bridge is a bridge of principles. Okay? Now, in this second bridge, what we're going to do for her is that we're going to figure out how she thinks, feels, and wants out of her marriage with you. Okay? And the reason for this is very simple. I believe that there are certain subconscious rules that you cannot override by brute force. Okay? And marriage is governed by those rules, whether you like them or not. Okay? So one of the biggest mistakes men make is assuming that what works for them, like what works in their own life, what works in their own nervous system, should work in their wives as well. But life doesn't work that way. Okay? Because most men operate logic first, but most women operate emotion first. All right? This isn't ideology. It's not a value judgment. It's not even a debate at this point. Understanding that men are logic first and understanding that women are emotion first is understanding that your nervous system has constraints. And understanding that most women are emotion first is understanding the nervous system constraint. It's not about you. Yet, I see that most men still try to convince their wife using logic. All right? Like, using logic is not a very smart move when you're trying to convince your wife. All right? The reason is the nervous systems are different. All right? So when you try to explain, when you try to justify, when you try to reason with her, it won't land. All right? And when it does not land, most men think that they assume that she's being difficult or she's being emotional or she's deliberately resisting them, right? But that's not the truth. She isn't being deliberate about any of this. The reason is something very simpler than what most men assume. And the reason is that you're just not communicating to her in a language that her nervous system prioritizes, all right? So whatever effort you're putting into explaining things to her or justifying or giving her logical reasons won't land. Your effort would go unnoticed, not because it's wrong, but just because it's not aligned. It's misaligned. And so this is the problem that most men face. And this is the reason like they run into major collisions, like run into major problems with their spouse, despite the fact that they love their spouse and their wife also loves them. And despite this fact, they run into collisions, they keep fighting. The home environment is not stable at all, just because of this one reason. So when I work with husbands, my number one thing that I do is to show them how sovereign men operate in such situations, right? So sovereign men don't argue with the reality. Okay, they understand that women are emotion first And this is not something that women deliberately pick. This is a nervous system constraint, and they have to respect it because it's just by nature. It's not something that you pick. So the first thing sovereign men do is accept three truths in life. Truth number one is that male and female nervous systems are different. Truth number two is turning that difference into an ego contest destroys your marriage. And truth number three is that the goal is not to be right. The goal is to build a life together, build a good life together, right? This is the goal. This is the point, right? Fighting or proving logic first is better or emotion first is better is not the goal, all right? Building a life together, living a good life together is what the goal is, right? And once a man accepts that his wife is built differently from him, something very important changes inside him. He stops pushing her resistance buttons harder, all right? Just because men do not understand that she's emotion first and they are logic first, there's always this fight going on, and men feel like anything I do triggers her, which is translation. Like if I have to translate the situation, all that they're doing is they're pushing her resistance buttons. And that is the reason they feel that no matter what I do, I just trigger her harder. All right? That's what's really happening. They're just pushing her resistance buttons harder. All right? So for sovereign men, we do something different. Instead of triggering her, what we do is we gather intel on her. All right? And this intel is the data that I'm talking about from her life. You don't have to talk to her to get this data. I'll be the one supplying you all of this data. And what this data has is that it contains information like what state she's in, what is she reacting to, what does she really want in this phase of her life, in this month, in this year, right? In this moment, what is overwhelming her, what will calm her down, right? And these are not stories or vague guesses or some vague voodoo stuff. This is structured intel, organized, updated, and supplied monthly to you. All right? This is the data that differentiates, that allows you to differentiate yourself from most men. Most men don't have access to this data. Most people, if they really want, like most men, if they really want, they can figure out their life philosophy if they work hard. They'll be able to figure out their North Star, right? But even if men want, they cannot get this data from anywhere. It's very hard to get this data. Your spouse will not give you, because women, the way women are built is that they rarely say what they mean. All right? They usually say the opposite of what they mean because they want you to decipher what she means and to figure it out, to chase after her. This is how women are built. All right? So she's not going to be giving, she won't give you this data. All right? But when I work with men to take them from a regular husband to a sovereign husband, I have to supply this data to them. And this data is updated monthly. Now, because sovereign men have access to this data, they no longer have to fight their wife's nervous system. Instead, they can begin to align with their wife's nervous system. All right? But data is the differentiating factor. Like when you launch businesses, when you start any marketing campaign, you know that you have to know what your ideal client is thinking about. You have to know what their fears are, what their pains are, right? Similarly, we install the same system in your marriage by giving you that data about your wife. And so the updated information, the updated data that I provide to you every month is like updated Google reports that you get, updated financial reports that you get in your business. And what happens is, once you have this intel, you finally start seeing her side of the picture without needing her to explain. And women absolutely hate having to explain what they're feeling or what they want their spouse to do. All right? They want you to understand. But most men are not able to understand, And hence, there's so much friction inside their relationship, inside their homes. But with the intel, you're able to understand her side of the picture without needing her to explain anything to you. So, with this intel, you do not need to decipher her. The deciphering is already done. Intel gives you the deciphered information, all right? With the deciphered information, what you gain is a lot of clarity, right? And this clarity dissolves confusion, right? And not only does it dissolve the confusion, but this data also reveals your wife's true intent, all right? Knowing true intent gives structure to what otherwise feels chaotic. Okay? So at this point now, we are at the point where you know what you want out of your marriage, and you also know what your wife wants, what she's thinking, what she's feeling, what she is craving from you. All right? You know that there are subconscious rules, you know that she's emotion first, and that this is her like nervous system constraint, right? And you have received all the data. So at this point, what's really happening is instead of operating blind, now you have a balanced view. How? Because earlier it was like this is the area that you need to be aware of. Okay? But you could only see half of it. The half of it was hidden from you. All right. And this hidden half is the data on your wife, which you now have access to. And because now you have access to this data, so instead of like partial view, now you have complete view. Now you can see both sides of the coin. Now you know this is you and this is her. What you are thinking, what you are feeling, what you want out of your marriage. At the same time, what is she thinking? What is she feeling? What does she want out of your marriage together? All right. So you have a complete view, you have a balanced view. And now you can start taking the next step. Okay. And so the next step is to know how to design the game of marriage. Right. Let's move on to that. I believe that a husband who needs agreement has already lost leverage, right? And this belief is not born out of ego. This belief is born out of understanding how stability actually works inside a marriage, right? So a stable marriage is not about winning arguments. Instead, it's about designing the game so that arguments become unnecessary. And yes, I call it a game very deliberately. Because to me, marriage is really a two-player game, right? And most of the time, the problem is that these two players have competing interests. You have different nervous systems, like we discussed above, and you have different priorities at the same time, at the same moment in life, all right? And because there's this difference in nervous systems and different priorities, that is why the interests of both of you are competing, even though the goal that both of you want is the same, which is to live a good life together. But the nuance is competing. The big picture, the goal is the same, but the nuanced picture shows competing interests. Okay? So when I say designing the game of marriage, I don't actually mean control. What I mean is structure. Okay? Because in my eyes, you become a sovereign husband only when you can align your outcome with hers without requiring her agreement first. That's the difference between reaction and leadership. You know, most men react, meaning they explain, they negotiate, they have to wait for a buy in, right? But when men become sovereign, they stop reacting and instead they start positioning. How? Well, they position their decisions, their timing, their actions in such a manner that naturally stabilizes her nervous system, right? And when you do that, all the escalations in the house, they drop on their own. You don't have to do anything separately for it. All you have to do is satisfy her nervous system, and you will never have to negotiate for peace again inside your home. So, when you operate the way that we're going to talk about, you've designed your environment in such a manner that none of the conflicts can exist. And because you're designing it, considering how she thinks, feels, and what other things that she wants, and what other things that you think, feel, and want, because you're designing it by considering both of these things, that is why there'll be no need to ask for her agreement. Okay? You will not have to persuade her. You will not have to force her at all into doing anything, because when you drew your sovereign marriage plan with me, we've already considered what she thinks, wants, and feels, and what you think, want, and feel. So essentially, what we're doing is we design stability without requiring emotional consensus. Now, let me show you how I do this. Okay. So when you come to me for spouse and deal, I don't give you advice. Okay. Instead, what I give you is a strategic hand. And this strategic hand is built in 3 steps. All right. Step number 1 is to map the intersection. All right. So what we do is that we figure out what your goal for your marriage is. All right. We figure out her principles, which is what does she want, think, thinks, and feels about your marriage with her, and what do you think, feel, and want out of your marriage. Okay. And at the intersection of these 3 things is where your strategy lies. This is the real source, the intersection of these 3 things. When we find this intersection for you, this tells us what can work and what will never work for both of you. Some people say that I can make it work because I have good intentions in my heart for my wife. Let me tell you, wives do not look at your intentions. They look at your micro signals, they look at your clarity, and then even if you have good intention but your actions go opposite to her nervous system, your actions go opposite of what she wants you to do, what she's thinking, what she's feeling. If you don't validate it, it's not going to pan out well for you. All right. You need to understand that the only leverage that you have, because you want to build a good marriage with her, is finding this intersection. Once you find this intersection, then you'll be golden. I can promise you that. Once we have this intersection mapped, then we're going to think about the dealt hand. All right. Now, the dealt hand, this is the reality life has already given you. All right. So when we spoke about her principles, I also mentioned that you'll be getting access to data about her. Now, this data has information that tells you what is the current season of life that she's in, what are the events that are happening in her life, okay, with her family, with her, with your kids, with her social circle, with her friends, all of the things about her, the crux of her life, her emotional bandwidth, like how is she doing on that? Is she too occupied? What pressure cycles is she in? What are the mental constraints or the emotional constraints that she's operating with? All right. So all this data is what I supplied to you, all right, in the previous section. So when you get this data, what's happening is that you are dealing with the facts, not with fantasy, not with optimism, but with plain facts about her life. All right. And we need these facts to devise a strategic hand. Okay. Dealt hand is something that is happening to her. All right. What I do is I extract all of that data and give it to you. Now, strategic hand is what we do with that dealt hand and the intersection, this path that we develop. Okay. So let's talk about the strategic hand. Now, I want you to understand that strategic hand is where the positioning happens. Okay. I told you that designing the game of marriage is about aligning without agreement, without needing her emotional consensus, and aligning your desires with hers so that you can achieve the outcome that both of you are after, which is a happy married life. Okay? And I said that you do this by positioning. And to position, you need strategic hand. Okay? So, strategic hand is where the positioning happens, meaning what to do, what not to do, how to lead, where to hold steady. Everything will be given to you on a piece of paper in the briefing report, right? With time stamps. There'll be no ambiguity, there'll be no uncertainty for you to know what to do, what not to do. It's a complete plan. I feel I can explain this better using a diagram, so let me just draw it out for you. So let's say what she wants is a king of hearts, a queen of hearts, an ace of hearts, a two of hearts, and a five of hearts. Let's say this is what she wants. Now, what she gets in her life is maybe a two of hearts, an ace of hearts, and a five of hearts. Okay? So what is she missing is what becomes your strategy. Okay? She's missing a king of hearts and she's missing a queen of hearts. Okay? This becomes your strategy. This becomes your strategic hand. This is what you do for her. This is what you give to her in that month. Okay? You have this knowledge from step 2, from bridge 2. Bridge 2 will show you all that she wants, right? The dealt hand will show you what she gets in life. Okay? And then the strategic hand will show you what you need to give to her to make her fall in love with you, to make her follow your command, to make her see you as the leader of the household, to make her respect you, to make her admire you, to make her want you, to make her desire you. Okay? Let me repeat. Bridge number 1 is where we figure out your philosophy of life. Bridge number 2 is where we figure out what does she want, feel, and what does she desire right now. And using these two, we want to design the game of marriage. Okay? We want to design the game of marriage because we don't want to get into arguments with her discussing what does she want, what does she not want, because women are simply not going to give you a clear answer. Whatever she says she wants will not be what she wants. She will want you to decipher what she wants. All right? And we do not want you to spend time on that. So instead, what you get is you get data. The data that you get in step number 2 shows you exactly what she wants, which is this. All right? This is the analogy of what she wants. Then, after you know what she wants, with this dealt hand in the report, and the dealt hand will show you what she's getting out of her life. All right? Now, when you subtract what she's getting out of her life from what she wants, that's when you get what you should give to her. Okay, this is what you use to take the right positions inside the home. Let's say she's feeling very lonely and she's missing her family. All right, you know this from the data that I supply. The reality of her life is that she's stuck somewhere in her office or because of the kids, and that she cannot visit her family. All right, but she's still feeling lonely. All right, so you know that she really wants to see her parents, see her family, but she's stuck somewhere, so she cannot do that. All right. So, for example, this is just an example. Your strategic hand could be that you fly down her parents for the weekend so she can be with them. When you do this, in the moment when she really wants this, when she's really, really craving it, when you do this, it really scores. All right. So, in this situation, you did not speak to her. You did not ask her what does she want. You just knew what she wants basis the report, and you did that. Such strategic hands, when you play, they really score. These are the things that make her admire you, make her desire you more. And you didn't have to talk to her. You didn't have to get into arguments. You didn't have to question her. You didn't have to manage her moods, her tantrums to get to know this. Okay, this is what I mean by strategic hand. Okay, figure out what she wants, figure out what life is giving to her, and then whatever's missing, this is what you supply. Let's take another example. Let's say from the data that I give you, you figure out that your woman is feeling very low and that she needs a vacation. Okay, but also from the report, you found out that she is looking for solitude. Okay, now you want that she wants this. You find out that your family friends are taking a trip together, like all of your friends are taking a trip together, and so you also decided to join them in on the trip. But when you got the report, you knew that she wants solitude. She wants a vacation, but she also wants solitude. So because you have this intel, instead of planning your trip with your friends, what you do is you take her to a place where she can be alone, just the two of you, and you can just sit and talk, or she can chill. In both the situations, like without the report, also you were going to take a vacation. But with the report, you know what kind of vacation. Like you need a vacation where she can be alone, where she can have solitude. So definitely, this vacation is not going to happen in a city, in a major city. You'll have to take her to some uh, place where she can find solitude. All right, and doing this is what positioning is: understanding what she wants, and this is executing on it. Okay, this is the kind of data, this is the kind of information that you'll get on your wife, which will hold true in real time. Hundreds of my clients are a testimonial to this. Hundreds of my clients have tried this and they use it every day, because the information that I give you, the intel that I give you, is so accurate that you can vouch for it. Now that you've understood what we do in Bridge 3, we figure out what she wants, we figure out what she gets, and then you position whatever she cannot have in your way. And this is how you win the marriage. Okay? But this is just me explaining how we do it. Now let's convert this into repeatable steps which are very low effort. Okay? Which is talking about the protocol. Also, please note just one thing that I want to bring to notice is that not all strategic actions will be taking her to a vacation or flying her parents down. Sometimes it'll be very small, just like getting her favorite chocolate or um, just asking her one question at the end of the day. All right. So the strategic hand is going to be about what she wants, but also what you can do easily. It's not going to be something fancy that you cannot do or that you have to plan for to do. All right, it's going to be very simple. It can be as simple or as fancy as you want. It does not have to be difficult for you. It, in fact, will never be difficult for you, because first we want to figure out what do you want and what do you prefer in your marriage. So if you prefer simple things, then that's how we'll satisfy what she needs. Okay, through simple measures and through measures that you want to do, not something that you don't enjoy doing. Okay, all right. So let's talk about the protocol. Now, what happens is that when I give all of this information to people, at the end of this process, they have a lot of insight. Okay, but I do not want them to leave with insight. Instead, I want to hand the control console to you, because this is a lot of information. This is especially for the first time. Getting to know all of this about your spouse can be overwhelming, but I don't want it to be overwhelming for you. So instead of leaving you with just insight, what I do instead is I construct a control console for you. All right. Now, the reason I construct this control console is because I believe that insight without execution is useless, right? And execution without timing is dangerous. Okay. So essentially, what I want to do is, like, the entire purpose of Bridge 4 is to turn everything that we've decoded into a very low effort, repeatable execution steps. All right. And I do this every month. When you get your report every month, you get a control console. And if you just refer to your control console and just read one pager, control console, it's maximum 2 pages. Mostly it's 1 page for most clients. If you just read that, execute on that, you'll be good to go. Okay, I can promise you that. More than 500 of my clients have been using this, and it's beautiful how beautifully it works. I use it every day in my life. Okay, I don't use it with my spouse, but I use it with my mother. I use it with my father. I use it with my brother. I give it to them to use it with their partners. Okay, so control console is the one thing that you walk away with, and the only thing that you refer when you want to know what to do next, or how can you score with your spouse this month. Okay, it's very low effort because everything is just listed out there. All you have to do is read it and just execute on it. And the execution also depends on you. If you want to make it super fancy, you can do that. If you want to keep it very simple, you can do that. Okay, the control console allows all of that to happen. Okay, now the reason I give control console is because I feel that relationships fail the same way machines do. Right, machines never fail because of one big breakdown. Okay, they usually fail because of poor maintenance, and poor maintenance over time leads to one big breakdown. But it's usually the small things, the maintenance, that really is the culprit. Okay, and for maintenance, I feel that in relationships, timing matters more than intent, meaning good intent applied at the wrong time creates damage, and good intent applied at the right time creates stability for you in your marriage. Right? So, the purpose of this protocol is to remove the blind spots. You not only get intel, you not only get insights, but these are timed, okay, and broken down into steps that you can take. You can make these steps as fancy as you like. You can keep these steps as plain and simple as you like. All right? Because maintenance is what is going to make your marriage look beautiful. Maintenance is what is going to make your marriage feel beautiful for you and for your partner. And maintenance is the domain of control console. Control console is what helps you maintain. So every month you receive a monthly emotional operating map from me, and it has 3 parts. All right. The first part is the overview. This overview quickly summarizes first part, second part, and third bridge. Okay. After the overview comes the leverage lists. Leverage list contains a bullet list of things to do and things to not to do, things that will score, things that will destroy things. Okay. After the leverage list is a harmony calendar. This harmony calendar is usually something that I give to all of my clients, and it looks something like this. It has 3 layers of color-coded days. Okay. The green color means it is a go forward day. The red color means it's a no-go day or a retreat day, meaning she's not going to have a good day that day. And yellow is like neutral. Okay. So when you receive your harmony calendar in the report, and if you find a day that has 3 levels of red, it means this day is going to be a landmine. Okay. An emotional landmine is going to blast. So I would advise you that you do not stay around her during this day. Okay. You plan a trip, go out of the town, or spend the entire day with your friends, have a sleepover at your friend's place. Just find an excuse to get out of the house and do not come back for the entire, do not come back till the next day. Okay. If you find that there's a day which is a complete green, which I do not have for this particular illustration, but let's say this has 3 layers, 2 layers of green and 1 layer of red. So if it has 2 layers of green and 1 layer of yellow, then it means it's going to be a very good day. So if you want to have a date night, plan it on this date. Okay. This is for staying away from her. This is for date night with her. This is also for date night with her. This is also for date night with her. Wherever you see 2 greens, you can know that these days are safe to have dates with her, to spend time with her. Okay. She'll be able to emotionally open up to you. You'll be able to emotionally open up to her, talk to her. You can share, you can start building a bond instead of fighting. There won't be any fights because she is going to be inherently in a good mood on a green, green, green day. Okay. Versus a red, red, red day is something that you should 100% avoid. Okay. And if there's a yellow, yellow, yellow day, let's say this is also a yellow, then you know that all the things that require admin work, or all the things that are like neutral things that you've already discussed with her, like presenting her some documents, or just like regular things that she's already agreed to. Those are the things that you advance on a yellow, yellow, yellow day. Okay. Let's say if entire week is like red, 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 then get away from her. Take your kids also away from her, because she is going to have a very bad time, and whoever is around her during that time is also going to pay for that. Okay. This harmony calendar is based on her emotional cycles. Okay. Because women don't operate on as per calendar, they operate as per their emotional cycles. Okay. Mood is an expression of the emotional cycle that she's in. And so harmony calendar shows you the dominant mood that she's going to have that day. Okay. So harmony calendar is something very, very like beautiful. Like all of my clients swear by it. And I honestly use it a lot for a lot of the things that I do. Because understand that this is the service that I'm talking about, Spouse Intel, is something that I built for myself. All right. Not for my spouse, but for any other person in my life. I use the intel that I give to you, the exact systems that I use to extract intel for you are the exact systems that I use to extract intel for myself. And just by using intel, just by incorporating it into my life and planning my life as per intel has made such a huge difference. Like, it's crazy how much little information, like small nuggets of information, can do. Harmony calendar is how timing stops being a guess. You have the exact color coded days, when is she going to be in a bad mood, when is she going to be in a good mood, and as per that, you can devise your strategy. So, with this, we've completed the 4 bridges, and now instead of reacting, you'll be executing in your marriage. All right. And so at this point, control is no longer something that you chase, it's something that you hold. All right. And you're able to hold this control without having to monitor your marriage, without having to manage your emotions or her emotions, because you're executing a protocol. And once this protocol is installed in your marriage, once it is delivered to you every month, the control is going to stay in your hands for good, right? Spouse Intel is a system that installs this control. And Spouse Intel is the only system that can guarantee emotional sovereignty inside your marriage. This brings us to the end of the walkthrough. And if you want to see how my clients use this control console in their marriage, then stick around for the next video, because that's what I'm going to record for you next. Ciao. I'll see you in the next one.